In this video, we are going to discuss about the properties of liquids. At the end of this lesson, students should be able to explain the properties of liquids. Here are some examples of liquids. Here are some examples of liquids such as the dishwasher, kerosene, juice, petrol, coffee, and honey. All these liquids are usually used in our daily life. Now, let's discuss the properties of liquids. Liquids particles are arranged closely but not rigidly. They are held together by a strong intermolecular forces but not strong enough to hold the particles firmly in place. Thus, a liquid flows to fit the shape of its container. The liquid molecules flow easily around one another. They are kept apart by attractive forces between them and flows to fit the shape of its container. Liquids do not have definite shape. They take the shape of the container in which they are poured. Volume is defined as the amount of space that a substance or object occupies or that is enclosed within a container. Liquids have a definite volume. There is no change to the volume of water even though it was filled in a different container. Diffusion is a process whereby a substance spread from a region of higher concentration or pressure to a region of lower concentration or pressure. Diffusion is much slower in a liquid than in a gas. Liquid molecules are closely packed compared to gases. The space between particles in liquid are unable to diffuse and helps an intermixing of a certain liquids. For example, a liquid of dye. When a dye liquid is dropped into water, at first we can see that at a certain part of water, they have a higher concentration of a dye liquid. But then, slowly, the dye molecules will spread and move to a lower concentration of the liquids. They will keep moving until the molecules is diffused evenly into water. Viscosity can be defined as the ability of a liquid to resist flow. The greater the liquid's viscosity, the more slowly it flows. Water has a low viscosity because it flows freely, but substances like syrup or honey have a higher viscosity because they flow hardly and slowly. There are three factors that can affect the viscosity of a liquid. First, the intermolecular forces. The greater the attraction between the molecules, the stickier and more viscous the liquid will be. Second, the size and shape. A larger molecule will be more difficult moving past one another, which will restrict flow and result a greater viscosity. The third is the temperature. The higher the temperature, the greater the kinetic energy, which causes the intermolecular forces to be weakened and finally resulting to reduce the viscosity. Compressibility can be defined as a measure of the relative volume change of a fluid or solid as a response to a pressure change. In the liquid, the particles are packed closely together. Thus, the liquid cannot be compressed because there is not a lot of empty space between the atoms. They cannot be squeezed together to any closer. Surface tension is the energy required to stretch the surface of a liquid by a unit area. The molecules inside the liquids experience zero net force since they have experienced intermolecular attractive forces in all directions by their neighboring molecules. The molecules at the surface are pulled inward and sideways by the neighboring molecules, that resulting in reducing the surface area. The surface tension will decrease as the temperature increases. This is because the intermolecular forces has become weaker. Water has an irregularly high surface tension by considering the small size of the molecules. There are strong hydrogen bonds occurring in the water molecules, but water does not want to reduce the amount of hydrogen bonding occur by increase the surface area. How does paperclip floats on water surface? Paperclip is denser than water. The surface tension keeps them to float based on the strength of all hydrogen bonding. The weight of the paperclip is supported by forces in the stretched surface that try to make the surface smaller or flatter. However, if the paperclip is placed point down to the surface, its weight acting on a smaller area would break the surface, and it will sink. This is because some of the hydrogen bonding has been disrupted. Did you know how does the water droplet form? Droplets of water tend to be pulled into a spherical shape by the imbalance in intermolecular attractive forces of the surface layer. In the absence of other forces, drops of virtually all liquids would be approximately spherical. The spherical shape minimizes the necessary wall tension of the surface layer. Even though water molecules are held by a strong hydrogen bonds, but water droplet is easily to deform. This is some more examples on how to describe the surface tension. For example, how the needle floats on water and how the water strider can walk on the surface of the water. So, we can summarize that liquid do not have definite shape, but liquid have a definite volume. Liquid state is easily to diffuse and it has an ability to resist flow. The surface of liquid are able to stretch and flatten, and liquids cannot be compressed.